Slumber. I've seen it 3 guys. Let's hit it. Yeah. Skyros Gate was pretty fun. These are the radiant weapons. It sucks. I mean, these weapons don't seem to appear to be very powerful. These radiant weapons aren't very powerful. There's a Tomberry knife that has like a lot of will damage, but I already have the Omega weapon, so it's not doing much for me.
First the skies, then the crystal.
Trouble with your gear, or so will it be?
Why couldn't we have gotten a stronger weapon, I wonder?
Not bad, if I do say so myself. No scratches, right? Not bad, if I do say so myself. No scratches, right? Not bad, if I do say so myself.
I'm never going to use any of this shit.
That it? Fine.
Illusion Belt. It is in mankind's nature to ever seek that which is stronger, more beautiful, more divine. Then upon finding it to begin his search anew, the merchant Gilbard. Who the fuck is that? Black Alien Belt. Omega weapon. Ilium wristlets. Blacksmiths can prove overly proud creatures till when there exists a sword keener than any he has created, and he will work the grind so day and night until his blades are as thin as a fairy's wings. Till one there exists no matter harder than adamantite, and he will tear apart an entire mountain with his own bare hands to prove you wrong. Ilium wristlets. It was tough. Did you fucking
How's it going? Go and give that fucker one for me.
I don't suppose you're here. Well,
yeah, fuck off, dude. You're useless.
what can I do for my... We'll be fine, Clive.
somewhere, Sid. Can we come?
Knowledge hoarded is knowledge lost.
Reading the Tides. Entries for the Rising Tide are now available for viewing in the Thousand Tome. Speak with Hypocrisy and Highway to learn more. Reading the Tides. Entries for the Rising Tide will appear on the final page of each of the 4 sections of compiled knowledge. All entries for this DLC can be accessed by selecting Rising Tide from the keyword search.
If you have a question for me, I should be happy to answer it.
Dominant Joe War, Dominic of Shiva, and dearly beloved of Clive, leader of the new hideaway, born princess of the Northern Territories. Visiting Mysidia was like returning to a home she thought long lost. This strange feeling of familiarity became overbearing when she ventured to the air hours where the ether of the Witch of the North, Dominant Chief before her, filled the air. Oh, look at you, skank. Friend to the most. Proprietress of the Vale, Isabel, Northreach's foremost, sexy as fuck, probably MILF, foremost house of ill repute. She shares a long and lasting friendship with Shula, the former offering the latter and her people both material support and opportunities for employment, being whores. But Shula confided her interest in recruiting the service of Sid the Outlaw to deliver Walius from his torment. It was Isabel who assisted in arranging the introduction. Wow. What the fuck? Oh, he must have dyed his hair, because he looks different as fuck. Yeah, he must have dyed his hair. Makes sense. Shula's younger brother, tasked with venturing beyond the walls to secure funds and supplies for the motes of water, most crucially the Dusk Crystals that he and the brothers Halak and Marnik mined from the Sagespire after parents' passing. Yeah, from the Sagespire. After parents' passing, Famio was raised by a sister who elected to put his roguish charm and thirst for vengeance to use in service of their community in return for a solemn pledge that he would keep his true identity a secret. As Walia's closest living male relative, it was Famio's responsibility to take the father's role in a child's rite of immersion, which is the prize of everyone involved. He handled with aplomb. So he must have dyed his hair. Yeah, what the fuck? One of Halak, one of Famio's familiars and fellow member of the Motes of Water, he and his companion Marnik were tasked with mining dust crystals from the sleeping Sagespire. That's mining dust crystals from the sleeping Sagespire until the tower awakened, and the two came within the fallen abomination's fingernail of losing their lives. After being saved by Clive and returned to Mysidia, the brothers turned their attention to assisting their leader's starring turn in Walia's rite of immersion, somehow coming within a crow's whisker of certain death in their hunt for incense. Makes sense. Marnik, one of Famio's familiars, a fellow member of the Motes of Water, he and his companion Halak were tasked with mining dust crystals from the sleeping Sagespire, a task that came to an inauspicious end when the tower awoke. Though his loose lips and less than lion-hearted nature have the habit of rousing Famio's ire, his enthusiasm for undertaking any adventure his leader asks of him, whether it be delving deep into a fallen's facility to mine crystals or bearding a Kuro's den for a sample of tree sap, remain a constant source of approval. You know, my thing is, I got all this shit, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I did all this shit. I got some new vamp races, and they're useless because I can't even use them in the Kairos Gate, and completed everything. So I mean, yeah, it's pretty fucking useless. But it is what it is. Shula, leader of the Most of War and author of the letter asking for City of the Outlaws' aid in rescuing the Dominant of Leviathan. The note was delivered via the Veil suggests that she shared her friendship with the Dane, but the fact that she preferred a tent upon the isolated bluff far from Northreach for a meeting place over Isabel's establishment supplies a need for the greatest secrecy. Tributary of Mysidia, final haven of the Most of Water, desperately seeking a means to free Walius from the prison created for him by her ancestors. She invited Clive and his friends, Clive and his allies, into her hidden home. Though her strength may pale in comparison to that of her dominant guests, she is a skilled warrior in her own right, wielding both a weighty battle axe and the spells of a bearer. Cool. A gun, bitch. With Clive's aid, she succeeded in freeing Walius from his temporary prison, returning the child to the great river of life. She swears to care for Walius as if he were her own son, that she might atone for the sins of their forebears. But with the risk that the chaos enveloping the world beyond the wall may one day spread within it, ever present, the future remains clouded for her and her people. An elder sister to Famiel, who she raised from a young age. After her parents passed away, with her lifelong dream of saving Walius made reality, she did what her forebears did not, and welcomed the child to the family by means of the rite of immersion. By means of the rite of immersion. She promises to care for the boy as if he were her own son, hoping against hope that he will prove a rather less troublemaking charge than her newlywed brother. Hoping against hope that he will prove a rather less troublemaking charge than her wayward brother. Dominant of Leviathan. The Dominant of Leviathan, who Shula would see freed from an 80-year imprisonment, according to the tributary's tale. It was the dominant summoning of his Eikon that brought forth his surge, the frozen wave that looms upon the horizon north of Northreach, within which he sleeps even now. Walius, the current Dominant of Leviathan, born to the family of the tributary of the Moats of Water some 80 years ago. Soon after his birth and awakening as Dominant, he was subjected to a sinister ritual in the hope of harnessing the power that slept inside him. Alas, all did not go to plan. Leviathan ran amok and summoned a wave that would have destroyed Haven were not for the second part of his family's plan, freezing the child and the world around him in time. Said family plotted to transform their new arrival into the heart of a mother crystal by means of forcing his Eikon to prime and freezing it in time, that when its aether channeling powers were in full flow. Their plan not only failed to produce a single crystal, but also made of Walius an eternal prisoner whose release would spell doom for their people, drowned beneath Leviathan's waves. His only hope for freedom would be the coming of one who could remove his Eikon, or else bested in battle, one such as Clive Rossfield. But also meanwhile as a prisoner. After Clive took on the power of his Eikon, and Shula unwove the spell that froze him in time, while his imprisonment has finally ended. Allah, so was Leviathan's, and with a little encouragement from Ultima, the Eikon resumed the rampage it had begun decades earlier, forcing Clive to face the mad and serpent battle. The strength of Ifrit proved just enough to quell Leviathan's rage, allowing an exhausted Clive to return baby Walius into Shula's loving arms. After Clive's allies effected his release from a decades-long imprisonment, Shula brought baby Walius back to Haven, where he was officially and warmly welcomed into the family by means of the rite of immersion. Aww. Where's Hervey? I guess Hervey doesn't matter. adjutant to Chula, tributary of Haven, she who ministers to the affairs of the moats of war. When her leader is otherwise indisposed, it was she who informed the people of Haven of the coming of Clive and his allies, and ensured they would welcome the outsiders as if they were family. Likely to be more often than not now that Shula has wives to take care of. When they're because Shula's indisposed, she has to take care of wives. It was among Delina's myriad responsibilities attending the grave of the witch of the North, a duty passed down to her from her great grandmother, who cared for the woman in her final days and erected a stone after her passing. And a tale known only to the families of Delina and the tributary. This same ancestor once came across a knight praying for the grave, perhaps the same man who once swore to defend the witch with his life. Oh, sad. Pavat, Haven's master craftsman, though his social skills may be found slightly wanting, his artisanal skills are unquestionable, especially considering the lack of supplies available in the moats of Water's hidden home. His feelings for his wife, Muerda, however, are both diverse and abundant. That's good. Jamila the whore. Yeah. Once a courtesan at the Vale who ventured beyond the Mysidian glamour to earn much needed coin for her family. There she fell in love with pensive Sambracoi soul, but knowing that she could never reveal to him her true identity without putting her people in danger, she fled home, only to meet with him again in Mysidia. Now she divides her time between cooing with Hervey, and caring for her sister, a new mother who has volunteered to be Walia's wet nurse. Alright, Dalina, Pavat, Jamila. Fonet, Mysidia's master of the healing arts, who attends to her countrymen's ailments with traditional medicines and charms. Tyler proved a particularly difficult patient, as none of the experimental decoctions bubbling away at her kitchens proved effective against the Tomberry curse. Interesting. Talar, father of Pavat, blacksmith of Haven. In his younger years, Talar was one of the chosen few permitted to travel beyond Mysidia's borders to trade with the outside world. Alas, on one ill-fated trip, he was arrested by the Gregorian Inquisition and tortured as a heretic. When the sight of Clive's longsword reopened those old wounds, he made offering of his Gregorian Maternoster to a Tomberry altar, hoping to bring a curse upon those who had terrorized him so many years earlier. Sad, bro. Sad. Rowan, a trader in all matters, Chocobo who works out of Markless Rest. It was he who gifted Ambrosia, or Whiteheart as he knew her, with the riding tack she wears to this day. He is equally generous when it comes to bird food, sharing the mimic gore Clive needed to keep Ambrosia calm on a journey to Mysidia without thought of recompense. Yeah, good thing finally got a article of you, Rowan. Yeah, you a real G, bro. Yise, Witch of the North. She looks like Jill. The Witch of the North, a woman of the Northern Territories who breathed her last some 80 years ago. She had been employed by the Northern Things to weave a spell to stop time, that they might prevent the fall of Drake's Eye, and hence their nation. When at last she perfected the spell, it was already too late to save the Mother Crystal, or the witch, her flesh nigh consumed by the crystal, or it's late to save the Mother Crystal, or the witch, her flesh nigh consumed by the crystal's curse. It was in this state, close to death and abandoned by her people, that the moats of water stumbled upon her. They cared for her as best they could, and in return for their kindness, she gives them her spell. It's nice of her. Though the plan failed, the Vare she designed to cast it remains atop the air of hours to this day, as does her ether, bearing the unmistakable signature of a dominant of Shiva. Yise. She had been employed by Northern Things to weave a spell to stop time, and they might prevent the fall of Drake's Eye. To this end, they brought her to Mysidia, where she labored night and day to perfect the magic that might save her nation. watched over all the while by a knight whose thoughts were only ever of protecting his lady. And he failed. Sad. Purely tragic. But, you know, he did what he could. He did what he could. The Veil, friend of the moats. Friend to the moats. The Veil's owner and proprietor, Isabel, has long sought to provide her unique brand of succor to all who seek it, and as such, she welcomed into her halls those from all walks alike of life, be they noble or lowborn, serf or soldier. This hostility extends to even the exiled moats of water. Extends to even the exiled moats of water, showing sympathy with their plight. The dame happily offers what assistance she can, be it aid, protection, or employment. Yeah, very generous to Dame. To prostitutes. Once a loose collection of nations that sprang up around this region, the Northern Territories, once a loose collection of nations that sprang up around this region's erstwhile Mother Crystal, Drake's Eye. But in the 4 years following the Mother Crystal's fall, a combination of both the Blight's inexorable advance in the war with neighboring Rosaria worked to quicken the area's destabilization, and now only a handful of hardy survivors remain. While most of the north has regressed into a lifeless wasteland, a small corner situated on the western shores of Face Bay, known as Mysidia, remains untouched, albeit hidden by a powerful magic glamour maintained by the villagers who reside beneath the pall. Once home to a handful of small but proud nations, the northern reaches of Storm are now almost entirely lost to the Blight, her power forced from their ancestral homes to find refuge in Valiththea's more hospitable climes. The region's downfall can be attributed to the fall of its only mother crystal, Drake's Eye, some 4 years past. I wonder how 4 is. While a last-ditch attempt was made to save the crystal by having Shiva's dominant freezing in time, reference ended in failure. The ruling things turned their eyes south to Rosaria for a new source of power, and while their first forays were met with success, they proved no match for the might of the duchy or duchy, and were ultimately pacified by Archduke Elwin Rossfield's armies. And that about a motherfucker. Drake's Horn, a mother crystal which stood in southern Ash, an area now lost to blight. The fall of Drake's Horn left Drake's spine the only mother crystal on the continent and sparked a decades-long conflict for control of the ethereal bounty. After much bloodshed, it was the erstwhile nation of Veldemark which finally subjugated the warring tribes of Ash and set a kingdom around what is now Stonier. A mother crystal which once stood in ash for generations. The lands surrounding it were inhabited by peaceful people known as moats of water. However, the fall of Drake's Horn 300 years ago left Drake's spine the only mother crystal on the continent and sparked a decades-long conflict for control of the ethereal bounty. The moats, their homelands, fast being consumed by the blight, unable to compete against the warring tribes, chose to adopt the nomadic lifestyle, which would continue for the next 2 centuries. A mother crystal which stood in the frozen wastes of the northern storm lands now lost to the blight. Soon after the mother crystal first fell, the tribes of the north, in a bit of desperation, marched south into Rosaria. She was dominant at their fore. A terrible battle ensued in which fire was pitted against ice, but eventually the Phoenix and the Ducal armies succeeded in driving back the invaders for a time. Well, I'd like to see that. Before its fall, some 80 winters passed. The ruling Thanes charged their dominant of ice to devise an incantation that would effectively freeze time around the crystal, preventing its fall. Yet while the dominant succeeded in creating the spell, it was too little too late, and Drake's Eye shattered not long after, sending the region into chaos. Shit. Mysidia, long thought lost to the Blight. Mysidia is in fact one of the last few regions in the former northern territories that remain lush and teeming with life. Though one might not believe so when viewing it from across Oife's Bay. This is solely due to a powerful magical glamour erected by its residents, the most water, to make the lands appear to be dead from the outside and thus discourage unwanted visitors. The region was abandoned almost a century ago following a failed attempt by the ruling things to cast a spell that might halt the decay of their mother crystals, Drake's Eye, only to be claimed by the motes of water but a few years later. This remote corner of Valisthea was once home to thousands of northerners who maintained an expansive religious complex dedicated to the worship of Shiva, following a failed attempt to devise and conjure a spell that would prevent the mother crystal Drake's Eye from cracking. The location was abandoned by all save an ailing witch who died a short time later. Why the people of the north might abandon a region that had yet to succumb to the blight remains a mystery, but decades of subsequent assaults on Rosaria land suggest that the Fang sought strength in numbers by consolidating remaining populations near the ducal border. Several years after the Northerners' departure, the motes of water claimed the land for their own, establishing a small village and casting a glamour about the region that made it appear to have already succumbed to the Deadlands. With their supply of crystals that power the glamour now dwindling, the motes must now look to restoring their ties with the outside world. I didn't know much about the glamour. The Surge, a towering wave seemingly frozen in time for the past 80 years due to its sudden appearance off Mysidia's Cape Nepto immediately following the fall of Drake's Eye. Scholars generally presume the two occurrences are related. If Shula, tributary of the motes of water, is to be believed, however, the wave was not only summoned by Leviathan the Lost. If tributary of the motes of water is to be believed, however, the wave was not only summoned by Leviathan the Lost, but that the Eikon's Dominant still slumbers within it. According to Shula, tributary of the motes of water, the wave was not only summoned by Leviathan the Lost, but the Eikon's Dominant lies trapped within, victim of a terrible ritual that sought to harness his power. It was summoned by the Eikon of Water Leviathan when the motes of water sought to sacrifice the baby Walias, Leviathan's newborn Dominant, in an attempt to create their own mother crystal. Before the wave could swallow Mysidia, the motes cast a counter spell to stop time, effectively freezing both water and child, but damning poor Walias to an endless summer. I wonder how that works. Effectively freezing both water and child. Walias has been freed from his temporal bonds, but the spell remains active, focusing on the surge for fear of what might happen to Mysidia should the wave be released. The Air of Hours, top of one of the region's highest peaks, sits this ancient stone temple, awash in the glow of a mysterious blue light from a magic artifact in its innermost sanctum known as the Veil. Shines a bright ray of time-altering light that extends across the forest canopy down to Cape Nepto in the Surge. Within its timeless halls is housed the Veil, a magical conduit through which ice-aspected ether is channeled and focused onto the seas of Cape Nepto, effectively halting the flow of time in that precise location, as well as in the temple itself. It is believed that the structure may have once been a temple of worship where the ancient peoples of the north made offerings to the icon Shiva. While the now infamous witch of the north used the temple during her research into the development of chronomancy, the Air of Hours did not get its name. Uh, Development of chronomancy, the Air of Hours did not get its name, however, until the magical barrier contained within halls was used by the motes of water to halt Leviathan's rampage and seal him within the surge. Haven, an idyllic village situated in the center of one of the North's last remaining woodlands. Here lives a motes of water, a tribe originally hailing from Ash. Having only arrived in the region in the last century, a wooden palace encompasses their isolated community to provide protection from the region's myriad beasts and beastmen. That's good. A small village situated in the center of Mysidia, the motes of water who established a current settlement nearly a century ago found their new homes amongst the ruins of pre-existing stone architecture. They're sure the existence of their people remains unknown. Only a handful of Haven's residents are permitted to leave the village, and even then, usually only for the purpose of trade. The village has long been hidden from the outside world by a powerful glimmer that Haven's residents maintain a network of stone cairns filled with crystal shards. Now, however, with crystal in short supply, the motes and their newly freed dominant warriors must prepare for the day that glamour fades. Cloaked up, access to the village of Haven is limited to this narrow, poorly kept path that, following a punishing ascent, skirts the edge of the lost cloak, where peril oft awaits those who pay more attention to their breathtaking vistas than they do the path beneath their feet. Fathers fell, a strand of primeval forest is name given by the motes of water whose fathers and grandfathers first felled the trees there to fortify Haven. Village woodcutters still visit the area to this day, careful not to overharvest and always mindful to replant. Village trappers also frequent the area to take advantage of its abundant game that provides Haven with a source of meat, pelts, and pelts to trade in Northreach. Tailwind Bay, while technically in the western edge of Olifex Bay, uh, Olifex Bay, this stretch of calm ocean off Mysidia's eastern coast earned the name Tailwind. After Leviathan primed here 80 winters passed and laid waste to the shoreline with the thrashing of his mighty tailfin. The direction of his mighty tailfin, huh? Maiden's March. There was once a time long ago when young women of the north would make pilgrimages to massive temple complexes dedicated to the worship of Shiva. Here they would walk the path of ice and stand before his sacred altars to place their offerings and receive the icon's blessing. River meet. So severe was Leviathan's wrath 80 years ago that much of Mysidia's terrain was forever altered. From the sea rushed in a wall of water, toppling trees, cutting new canyons and swallowing homes. When the waters finally receded, the land was unrecognizable. Lakes where there had been none, rivers join where once they had been separated. The sunken ruins of rivers meet is one such place. Langor Falls, a magnificent waterfall overlooking the ruins of an ancient northern settlement. It was here the baby Waya's mother, unable to bear the pain of losing her son to sacrifice, took her life, casting herself off the cataract's lip and into the rocks below. A trace of her life, ether, however, must have remained as her son's Iggy, Thalos, was inexplicably drawn to this very spot over 80 winters later. The multiple water still visits the location annually to pay their respects. And it's your fucking fault, guys. The Lost Cloak. The towering cliffs that stretch along the border between Sambrek and the Northern Territories are known as the Lost Cloak and the Giant's Cloak, or simply the Cloak, and earn their name from their appearance that of a mantle draped over the shoulders of a mine titan. For nearly a century, the region has been enshrouded in a magical glamour, making it appear simply another stretch of empty deadlands, discouraging all from approach. Olefise Bay, stretching west from the former holy capital of Oriflame. Olefise Bay was, until recently, utilized by northern things to raid the wheat and rye fields of rural meadows to prevent such unwanted incursions to imperial lands. The empire lined the coast with watchtowers from Moor to Northreach. However, as the blight swallowed more and more of the north, forced the fangs into isolated pockets, the frequency of these raids jiggled to almost nothing, and now only a handful of the towers remain. Glasheim Wall, a vast ethereal dome created by King Barn Bastamar using the power of the Eikon of Water, is not only capable of repelling assaults both corporeal and magical, but will also consume any who might endeavor passes across its bounds. Famed for the mining settlement of Isla in the south to Frakes Calm in the north, the barrier effectively blocks any approach to the Walloder capital Stoner for hundreds of leagues. On the king's passing, it fell the king's passing. Yeah. Getting fleshed by human hosts, 8 elemental fragments were intended to test and bolster Mythos' strength, but one of their number, life and loss, was taken by its master. Judged to have been profaned by mankind, and that it could no longer serve its original purpose. Clive, however, was able to draw out the final icon's power from the infant Waios, bringing Ultima's vessel to its full and perfect form. Ain't that about a motherfucking bitch? Fuck y'all, man. And Pharaoh Dome, the glamour, and Pharaoh Dome woven by the moats of water to shield their hidden home from prying eyes. While the land within teems with life to an outside observer, it appears as if it had been lost to the blight. Passing through the wall is a disorienting experience akin to a sudden rush of alcoholic intoxication. This is some weird shit. From the outside, it appears as if the land had been lost to the blight, yet from the inside, blue skies soar over lush forest teeming with life. It has its origins in the magic rewards of a much smaller scale that most of water would conjure to disguise their camps during their years of wandering through the foreign lands of storm. On sailing in Mysidia, they elect to cast a similar spell over the entire land, crafting their crystal-filled currents and laboring night and day to attune the spell that the outside world might see the area slowly succumb to the blight. It is filled field is maintained by a series of aether channeling cairns filled with the shards of Dusk Crystal mined from the Sagespire. Now that the magic metal crystals no more, and most water only have a small stockpile of dust crystals remain to sustain the glamour. It is but a matter of time before their supplies are exhausted and their curtain finally falls. I'm scared, man. The secret of controlling the flow of time by means of ethereal manipulation. It was devised and perfected by the Witch of the North, who was tasked by the Thanes of the Northern Territories with finding a way to stall or prevent the fall of Drake's Eye. After a lifetime of toil, she finally perfected the spell some 80 years ago, but it was too late to save her doomed mother crystal. Motherfucker. The Motes of Water would later put it to another, more sinister purpose. That of creating a new mother crystal by freezing their baby Dominant in time. Alas, that plan too resulted in failure. The Witch's magic succeeded only in preventing the extermination of their people by an Eikon's fury. Motherfucker. Based by the Witch of the North. A dominant Shiva whose mastery over the elements of ice exceeding even to the freezing of time. She taught the secret of her spell to the Motes of Water, who cared for her in her dying days. Alas, it brought them only pain, their attempt to create a new mother crystal, ending with the tributary's child trapped in time, unable to be freed unless Leviathan's fury destroyed them all. But many years later, Shula and Jill worked together to unweave the magic from around Walias, letting the child live again at long last. I think that's some motherfucking bullshit, man. Glamour cairns, glowing pillars of stacked stone found scattered around Mysidia. The crystals within them maintain the glamour that keeps the land hidden. They do so through a constant channeling of ether, much as municipal charts, fire forges, field wells, and light lamps elsewhere in the realm. Constant maintenance is required to ensure that the spell does not fade, both in the replacement of spent shards and in the careful attunement of the flow of ether through them. The latter duty is one only a bearer can discharge. Another reason why the Motes of Water embrace those born with the gift. They are filled with Dusk Crystals mined from the Sagespire. The magic they channel, giving the glamour that keeps the land hidden. Given the Dusk Crystals' fragility, replacing shattered fragments is an unending task, as it's carefully tuning the flow of ether through them. The skill with which the bearers of Haven have handled this onerous duty for generations is another reason why those born with their gifts are embraced by their fellow Motes of Water. The magical apparatus by which the spell freezing Walias and the surge in time was cast and continues to be sustained. It was erected in the air of hours. The temple that sits upon Mysidia's highest peak. The only place offered an unbroken line of sight at Drake's Eye, where the spell was really intended to be cast. At its heart sits an immense shard of crystal cut from the Drake's Eye, through which the magic has been ceaselessly channeled for 80 years. The Bear was designed and built by the Witch of the North, who imbued her own ether within it. On Clive's approach, a spectral knight materialized before it, wielding a blade of ice and determined to prevent the passage of anyone who would undo her spell. Whether this spectre was a fragment of the witch's power or a melding of her ether and another's remains an open question. Fuck y'all, man. The Moats of Water, people among whom the Dominant of Leviathan is born, noble for their ivory hair and sapphire eyes and tan skin. Histories agree that their bloodline was ended some 100 or more years ago. The Eikon that swims within it forever lost to the world. Their history begins in the lands surrounding Drakeshorn and Southern Ash. After the fall of the Mother Crystal, their people set out in search of a safe haven. Wandering through the alien lands of Storm for decades until they found a new home in the unclaimed land of Mysidia. Their long history of common struggle having united their people as one. Bearers of the Moats of Water are esteemed equally to their less blessed brethren. Fled from Southern after the fall of Drakeshorn. Their wanderings took them to Eastern Storm, where they were persecuted as heretics by a nascent Gregorian Inquisition and driven to the brink of extinction. The few survivors fled north and west, where they found a safe haven in Mysidia. Alas, their attempts to revive their people's fortunes by harnessing the power of Leviathan to create a new Mother Crystal ended in tragedy. The babe that was to be their savior frozen in an unending torment. After years of wandering through the unwelcoming lands of Storm, they finally found a second home in Mysidia. Though the tributary of the times attempt to revive his people's fortunes by harnessing the power of Leviathan to create a new Mother Crystal may have been an unforgivable sin, it was not an irreversible one, as Joshua and Clive proved when they delivered Wyatt from his 80-year imprisonment, reuniting the family at long last. Elder's Blessing, originally native to Southern Ash, these flowers flourish the banks of freshwater streams, their stems yielding fine yet durable fibers. Their petal is a long-lasting blue dye. They have long been treasured by the Moats of Water as both crafting material and symbol of their tribe. When Drakeshorn fell, their long years of exile began. The tributary of the time ordered that the seeds of the flowers be harvested, that their people might plant them wherever they stopped to water, bringing a piece of home to the foreign lands through which they wandered. The Gregorian Inquisition. In the early days of Gregorians supremacy in the Eastern Storm, some 170 years ago, the clergy conducted an inquisition to all heretical thought that might challenge their rule. The mission swept across the region, demanding all renounce their idolatrous folk beliefs and swear an eternal and exclusive allegiance to the goddess. Those who would or could not, the Moats of Water, chief among them, were slaughtered en masse to serve as a lesson to the rest of the populace. It proved an effective one, and the Holy Empire's umbrella, ruled over by the corporeal embodiment of Great Gregor herself, was established soon after. Bacchus wine, depending on who you ask, Bacchus wine is either some ambrosial delight distilled by the gods themselves, or a fantasy woven by vintners and liquor mongers of ill repute to separate the thirsty masses from their hard-earned coin. The truth, however, is somewhere in between. While Bacchus wine does in fact exist, it is only produced on the continent, and therefore will command a king's ransom in those few high-end brothels actually manage to procure a bottle. As such, demand well exceeds supply, forcing innkeepers around the realm to find alternatives that will satisfy their patrons' want for the occasional rarer drop. This is frequently accomplished by blending a variety of lesser quality vintages, the result being not only questionable flavor, but also a tendency to induce some of the most severe headaches outside of a battle hammer to the face. The rite of immersion, a traditional ceremony of the months of water used to welcome newborn babes into the family. It calls for the 3 ministrations, a child's mother and father, or close living male and female relatives, and a trusted guardian to serve as a witness. Most often tributary of the time. The latter is responsible for collecting 3 vials of holy water, with which the infant's head is anointed, representing the course of the great river's life, to which the new raindrop is to be joined. Fuck off, kids. Yeah. All Doms of Chief are born among descendants of most of Eyes, including Jill's predecessor in the role of the Witch of the North, who devised the spell to freeze time. Her ether yet lingers in the bear she constructed atop the era of hours in Mysidia. Timekeeper. Clad in iron from head to toe, the Timekeeper serves as both guardian of the air of hours and watcher of the bear, defending his charge with both mighty sword and malevolent sorcery. Bending time as a cooper might bilge hoop and descending on his victims before they can react. Before Timekeeper became Guardian of the Veil, he was a northern bannerman in service of the Dominant of Ice, XVI. When the spell ultimately failed and the Fangs turned their attention to their ill-starred also on Rosaria, the two were separated, and then he returned to Mysidia to stand with his lady once more. It was too late, yet still he remained loyal to the last, having pledged both life and natural life to his lady, his spirit empowered with her song. Please. I'm scared, yo. Fuck you, bitches. I'm gonna kill y'all, man. Haradmar, since man first settled the untamed north, he has known not to journey too deep into the black forest, for their giants roam, namely giant lizards with scales as hard as steel, maws deeper than the deepest of wells, and a fleetness of foot that belies their enormous size. These aberrations of nature rightly stand at the summit of predation. When the blight began consuming their habitat, however, a lack of prey drove many of the creatures south to Rosaria beyond, being only the strongest and most terrible to lord over what little of the north remained. Fuck! I'm gonna kill people. Toneberries, a race of beastmen native to the northern territories, while the distinguishing features include dark green skin, an unnaturally round head, and a slightly hunched gait. Toneberries are probably best known for their unhealthy obsession with vengeance and naturally sharp knives they carry to exact it. Sliding a toneberry, even the most insignificant of manners, will plant a foul seed in its heart, and over time will take root and grow, driving the toneberry to madness that can only be stemmed with murder. And should you harm one of its kin, prepare to face rancor of the entire tribe. Vengeance is an essential fixture in Toberry's culture, with societal value apparently being placed on the number of individual grudges a toneberry accumulates over its lifetime. As such, most older tribe members are admired. Most older tribe members are admired or even revered by their younger peers. It's eating folklore suggests that one might redirect the rancor of these creatures by having a personal enemy, or curse him by leaving an offering on one of their many stolen altars. This, however, can come at a risk of being cursed yourself should the enemy already be dead. Pericos was the first encountered by Clive following his attempt at absorbing Leviathan's ether. Sensing danger, Leviathan's dominant, the baby Walia, summoned forth the abyss, sending a cataract of salt and spray at Clive and his companions. And though they did miss their mark, one of these stray gals emerged, a horrible creature possessed of features both human and piscine, able to call upon the seas, as did her creator. This ethereal surrogate, or EG, as their kind have often been called, harried Clive until he succeeded in putting her down. Toneberry King. Toneberry Kings are not of noble blood, nor do they rule over their tribe. They are simply those individuals who have survived long enough to accumulate significant amounts of rancor. Their hearts stained black with rage. These elders tend to be not only the most violent and bloodthirsty of their kin, but also the strongest and most nimble. Despite their advanced years, some believe that one may curse his enemy by making an offering to these kings, but science would suggest this is pure fancy. Phallos, corporal manifestation of dominant Walias, fear and anguish. This waterbound elemental or AG carved a trail of slaughter through the Mysidia's primeval wood before arriving at the foot of Langor Halls. Before arriving at the foot of Langor Falls, according to the people of Haven, it was here that the baby's mother was said to have taken her life upon learning her son's fate. Reviving the lost, despite the prominence of the dominants in their icons in modern politics and warfare, recent history makes no mention of an Eikon of Water. So long has it been, in fact, since Leviathan has appeared in Valisthea that he now almost exclusively referred to as a lost, and so where exactly he went, though no one is quite certain. So long has it been since the Eikon of Water last appeared in Valisthea that many have forgotten Leviathan. Even existed. Despite much evidence to the contrary, old writings clearly speak of Dominant's past summoning. Great whale-like creatures capable of swallowing entire cities with their gaping maws. Visual records such as the famed Circle of Malleus tapestry also exist, depicting the Eikon as a great servant among its elemental brethren. 80 years ago, a baby was born to the motes of war, a dominant, the first to awaken after decades of silence. Yet rather than embrace this miracle, they instead chose to use him for their own gain, subjecting him to a torturous rite that stirred the serpent slumbering inside him. Fearing the destruction of their village at the hands of an enraged Eikon, the most cast a spell on the child, imprisoning him within time itself, where he remains trapped to this day. His anger stayed but not soothed. 80 years ago, the most of Water committed a sin. Most Trojans, they intended to sacrifice a baby dominant with designs to create their own mother crystal, and in doing so corrupted both his body and mind. Unaccepting of this taint inflicted by mankind on his once perfect creation. Unaccepting of this taint inflicted by mankind on his once perfect creation, also spurned the child, leaving him to his cruel fate, while turning his eyes to another. Damn. Ultimately, you fucking narcissist.
You are always welcome, Clive. I was wondering when next you'd visit. The door to the shelves shall be.
Yeah, I expected more. Alright guys, sorry for this one here about sharing free out piece with you. I really wish I could have gave like a extended ending of this game, so fuck this shit. But yeah, see y'all later.